What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, I'm going to talk about the heavyweights and the cruiserweights, and specifically Oleksandr Usyk and the cruiserweight division, the unified champion of the cruiserweight division, and the talk that's going on about him moving up to heavyweight and facing the likes of Tony Bellew or Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder. And give you my thoughts on that. Of course, Prince Nassim Hamed said that he believes that Oleksandr Usyk would show well against Anthony Joshua. He would show well against Deontay Wilder. And another guy what is his name? The former trainer of Usyk said that he believed that Usyk could beat Deontay Wilder, that he could also beat Joseph Parker, and that the only person that would give him trouble is Anthony Joshua. And he said in a few years that he would be able to get with Joshua. Ali Bergier is his name. First, before I go into that, I want to thank everybody for coming to the video. Thank you again to the people who are subscribed, and the people who are not subscribed, thank you for attending as well. Hope you would subscribe and hit the bell icon. Also, we do these so that you can know when the videos are dropped. Also, we do live streams daily, and they are really, very mature, cordial environment. And I hope that you would attend those. Also, thank you to everybody that donates to the page on Super Chat and Venmo. You guys are very, very much appreciated. I just can't tell you how much you guys help the cause. So now let me get into this. First, I want to credit Oleksandr Usyk for doing something that Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder were unable to do, which is to unify the cruiserweight division. And what I would like to see, and this might be selfish of me, but I would like to see Oleksandr Usyk stay at cruiserweight and defend his title at cruiserweight, be a reigning champion in his division, don't just become the undisputed cruiserweight champion, but defend the championship against the cruiserweights that are coming up. And if he just wins the title and leaves, then it will be, we'll be right back where we started, where there is no one person who is the champion at at a particular weight class in boxing. And Oleksandr Usyk right now holds a special place in boxing, one that Terrence Crawford held very briefly, and one that before that was held by Jermaine Taylor for a few fights and by Bernard Hopkins. But with all these belts, it's very, very difficult, or it's very rare at this point in time for somebody to hold all four of them. So, my hat's off to Oleksandr Usyk. And as far as people talking about him, whether he's pound for pound, a top 5 guy or as a top 10 guy, first, that's a subjective determination, what you think about, what the pound for pound is. But for me, I don't see how he could not be a top 5 pound for pound guy, seeing as he's the only unified champion in all of boxing. Nobody else other than Terrence Crawford, who I have at number 1, has ever held all the titles in a weight division. And the fact that he's holding all 4 of the belts right now, and if he defends it 1 or 2 times, then, how can he not be? When at his weight division, he's doing something that nobody else is doing. He is the cruiserweight champion. There are no others. And that's what boxing should be about. That's what boxing is about, in my opinion. And what I've wanted to see, I've been calling for all year. And we've had opportunities. We have At the cruiserweight division, he had that opportunity that was brought up by the World Boxing Super Series. And, hats out to Sauerland, to Richard Schaefer, and I forget what is it, Cognos, whatever the name of the organization is that put on the World Boxing Super Series. Man, my hat's off to them because they managed to do what Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder's team couldn't do, which is to get a unified champion. So what I would like to see is Alexander Usyk stay there and be that. And if he can defend it 2 or 3 times and the heavyweight division unifies, then by all means, move up and try to fight the unified champion of the heavyweight division. And I think that would be a great, this is clearly my wish. But I mean, I can't think of anything else better in boxing, because right now it's going to be hard pressed for Oleksandr Usyk to get a shot at any of the championship belts at heavyweight. You already have the one guy that he called out and said he wanted was Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew doesn't have a belt, right? And Tony Bellew, I don't know if he's going to be able to make that fight with Tony Bellew, because Eddie Hearn said before the fight that that Tony Bellew would probably want to get the winner of Gassiev and Usyk, but, Eddie Hearn, it's his job. He wouldn't want to put Tony Bellew in that type of situation for 1/3 of the money that he made for fighting what is his name? David Hay. That's what Eddie Hearn said. Now Eddie Hearn the next day after he won it said, oh yeah, well, the talks start this week. But we all know about Eddie Hearn's talks. We know how those talks Eddie Hearn's always talking. But is he going to feed Tony Bellew to Oleksandr Usyk? I don't think so. If it happens, I'll be surprised. But I think there'll be a lot of talking about it. And I don't want to see Oleksandr Usyk and Anthony Joshua. Don't want to see Oleksandr Usyk and Tyson Fury. I don't want to see Oleksandr Usyk and Deontay Wilder. I want to see the 2 guys that have the belts at heavyweight division unify. Finish that up. Anthony Joshua, after he fights Alexander Povetkin, and Deontay Wilder fights whoever he fights next, those 2 guys should get into the ring if everything is right in the world and Anthony Joshua stops acting like he's acting. Now, I know there's a significant chance it's not happening because, Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn want to, milk it out as far as they can. And I don't think that Oleksandr Usyk, and my thoughts on Oleksandr Usyk fighting for the WBC belt against Deontay Wilder, man, I don't see that happening. As much respect as I've got for Oleksandr Usyk, I mean, I've been pretty direct about my suspicions about Oleksandr Usyk, and my mind's not changing on that. Not everybody that's on funny business tests positive. And I've seen other people that look like that and act like that in the ring, where they can be 200 pounds, 6'3", 200 pounds, move constantly for 12 straight rounds, throw punches constantly for 12 straight rounds, and never have to take a breath. That'd be interesting to see with the extra level of testing that takes place for the WBC heavyweight championship, because Deontay Wilder is willing to pay the extra money to make sure that what my understanding is non-standard testing takes place. And plus, Deontay Wilder with just a jab and a right hand can beat Oleksandr Usyk. Just being 6'7", having a very hard, stiff jab, and being fleet of foot enough in a straight right hand will kill a lot of that business. But, that's just my opinion. I don't see it happening. But unification at the heavyweight division is what I would like to see. Unification of the cruiserweight division is what has occurred and what I think should continue. If Oleksandr Usyk continues to win at cruiserweight and it seems like he's comfortable making the weight, then he should keep taking the challenges on at cruiserweight until such a time that a slot for the unified heavyweight championship of the world comes up. I don't see him doing. I don't care about him fighting Tony Bellew. I don't care about him getting a professional version of his World Series of Boxing title win. I mean, win over Joe Joyce or any of that type of stuff. I think Oleksandr Usyk can really pencil himself in as a great at cruiserweight. And anyway, that's what I like to see. And hopefully he can set the tone. Hopefully he set the tone where other people can see what he achieved in cruiserweight division and want to do the same thing. This is 2 years in a row that we've got a unified champion. Now, as far as making him the number one pound for pound guy, I will address this quickly. That's not fair. To make him the number one pound for pound dude because he unified is not fair to Terrence Crawford. It's terribly unfair to Terrence Crawford because Terrence Crawford has earned a belt at 135. He unified at 140 and he won a title at 147. And while I think it's a great thing that Oleksandr Usyk did it cruiserweight, and I definitely think, but he beat Marius Bradis and Murad Gassiev. Murad Gassiev is slow as frozen molasses, and he's not a tremendously good fighter. I thought that everybody else thought, maybe think that I was wrong, but it was a close fight with him and Dorticos until the end of that. But Murad Gassiev was slow. He just didn't. He was just completely outclassed. A 24-year-old young man against a veteran, a 31-year-old Olympic veteran. Look, man, I just think that I don't think those wins in that cruiserweight division were against really, really top level guys. But he deserves to be up there because he did it, in my opinion. But Terrence Crawford not only unified at 140, he also won a belt at 135. He won a belt at 147 pounds. So those are titles in 3 weight classes with a unification in the middle. And you have Oleksandr Usyk with unification. In my book, that if you're going to put Usyk up there at number 2, you've got to have Terrence Crawford at number 1, without a doubt. It would be completely and utterly unfair and hypocritical not to. Because the competition level that Usyk fought is not significantly better than or any better than the competition level that Terrence Crawford faced at 140 pounds, and Terrence Crawford has a belt at 135 and 147 to boot. So anyway, man, that number, that ahead of Terrence Crawford thing pound for pound that's hypocritical. It's unfair. But I do believe that he should stay at cruiserweight. And then let the heavyweights settle their business out. But anyway, it is what it is. Man, mad respect for Oleksandr Usyk. And like I said, man, I got my suspicions of the dude, and I'm just going to be honest. I got my suspicions. And I think my suspicions are very, very reasonable. But, hey, man, until it's proven to be true, you got to act like it's not and, get a man his credit. So, but anyway, with that, I'm out. Peace.